to the pick and ban. Victor and Azir taken away from Crown, two of his more recent picks. Shen will be the final ban from the side of JinAir. And it's going to be Vladimir, Nidalee, and Trundle off the board on the side of Samsung.
Well, interesting that they actually banned the Trundle, considering that the answer to it from Trace in their last game was the Lissandra, which I don't know if... I think that's going to be one of the best counters when we compare it to the Rumble, per se, or the Gnar.
Yeah.
But we are going to see that. It instantly, JinAir looking like they're cut from the same cloth as SK Telecom, recognizing that Gragas is a major pick, but unlike SKT, they don't ban the Nidalee and the Elise. So the Elise still up. They're also going to have a shot here at the Alistar and the Sivir. Now, this is particularly important for Samsung because one of the most interesting facets of Samsung's play has been the synergy between Ambition and Wraith. Currently, both of these players are at number 2 and number 3 overall in the entire league for first blood percentage. And so they're one of the most powerful first blood combos, the other one being Score and Someday, in Champions in Korea right now. So giving him a champion with a lot of crowd control early on really does set Samsung up to start getting kills in the very early stages of the game.
Yeah. And of course we saw Wolf using that Alistar to massive success just yesterday. So coming back in, but really bold pick here. We were talking about this. The GP picked into the Gnar matchup. It's not the best, and we saw Duke really suffer going into this one against ADD, who solo killed him 3 times last night. But Cuvée, feeling confident against Trace, will go ahead and pick up that gangplank. I mean, very minute chance that it gets flexed into the mid lane, but more than likely will be up top.
Yeah, I think they're just saving a pick for Crown right here. We're not going to see, unfortunately, with that Gnar already picked, any of Trace's top lane Malzahar shenanigans. But the Ashe actually coming through for JinAir. Now, Samsung this season has relied very heavily on the Ashe. In fact, it's the second most banned champion against Samsung. So they usually don't want Ruler to have it, but the Sivir pick will nullify that. And we are going to see Ashe Braum come out immediately. Probably a lane Sivir and Alistar aren't going to want to be a part of. Now, TF, looking like it may be the grab here. Should give them a very neat multi-global pick composition.
Yeah, Cannon Barrage with the teleport, then you have the Rek'Sai with the Void Rush.
Yeah, huge amount of map mobility here for Samsung. It'd be fun to watch them play this particular composition. I'm a little bit worried about JinAir's comp, just because we'll see how the Gnar builds. Probably, of course, going to be a damage build. But in any case, having the Karma when you have a tank top and you don't have Graves or Kindred in the jungle is a little bit scary. Because you're really only going to be buffing up the Ashe, and we've seen compositions like this work with an Ezreal or another champion that does a huge amount of damage in the mid and late game. Yeah. But with the Ashe, it may not be quite as efficient. Now, Twisted Fate, a great pickup against the Ashe, who's not going to be able to get away from any of those TF ultimates very easily. So heavy engage here for Samsung, emphasis on speed. This is definitely a pick composition. Not a lot of tankiness, although, well, they have Alistar and they have Rek'Sai. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay, but still low range, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And a pretty vulnerable backline. So JinAir, though, going to have a lot of mobility with the speed boost from the shield. And some good engage as well. Gragas ult can set people up for a multi-man Gnar ult if you're good, and they'll have the long-range pick potential of the Ashe, too. So this is looking like it's going to be a rather bloody game. Crown actually going for a Ghost in this matchup. Let's see if he changes that or changes his mind to a teleport. I think, obviously, it will limit him in terms of a 1-3-1 split push if he doesn't have the TP in the late game. Means that he can only really get to the mid lane with much efficiency with that Ghost and using his ultimate.
Yeah.
Also very confident that he's not going to get poked out of lane and have to TP back in early.
Well, he's going to go the greedy route on this one and see if it pays off for him. But you mentioned Trace's build. We saw ADD going for Black Cleaver, then straight into Randuin's, I believe it was, because the games were very skirmishy, so he kind of identified, okay, you know what, I need to get to that teamfight build sooner. The Black Cleaver gives me enough pressure to be able to beat out this gangplank in lane. And I mean, he killed Cuvée before he even finished the Black Cleaver when, or killed Cuvée, killed Duke when Duke had a Trinity Force completed. So it was really surprising to see how much damage that Gnar could bring.
Yeah, I really think Samsung wants a lane swap here.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. Let's go ahead and get right into game one. All right, Ocean Drake will start us off. Anything but the cloud, but go ahead, get in. We'll see if Samsung does opt for that lane swap. Right now, Ruler will be poking his head out in that bottom side of the river.
Twisted Fate in bottom for some reason. This is already an abnormal level 1. Sending the mid laner to the bottom brush. Maybe looking for a possible gold card pick here early. They don't know where Twisted Fate is yet.
Yep, he's going to walk in. They see him now. They throw out that volley to slow him up. Pilot's just going to go ahead, flash over the wall. And Samsung will already have a very nice start, getting rid of that summoner spell.
Tricky. So most level 1 fans will have the support in the bottom side in that brush or near it, and then have the mid laner either in mid lane or slightly below the river. Now they reversed that in this game because they wanted to sneak the Twisted Fate in, catch them by surprise in the tri-brush on the blue side, and see if they could get a gold card into knock-up from Alistar. Wow, that's really annoying, Trace. So just a little trick there, a little bit abnormal, and it is going to... Okay, that's really annoying.
These are the sounds that will haunt my nightmares tonight.
I still don't know why they redubbed Gnar in Korean, considering he doesn't speak English.
He doesn't say anything in English. Yeah, I don't know. They just need it.
That's one of the weirder decisions that I've seen.
They need everything to be region locked. Who knows? But they will go ahead and get the 2v2 in that bottom side. So going to be feeling confident in that matchup now that the Ashe doesn't have flash up. So this could be a very aggressive level 2 or 3 for a raid.
Yeah, we'll see how they actually decide to deal with these potentially losing lanes here. Samsung, it'll be on Ambition, and he is going to just go ahead and take the red buff right now. We'll see if he goes for any kind of quick ganks. Make this a little bit easier for himself. Sapphire Crystal Star from QA, that is bootlegging himself up to a Trinity Force. We'll be able to trade more the parlay in the early game.
Yeah, he actually also went for the Thunderlords. So
Interesting.
Differentiating the build a little bit.
We'll see how QA played it.
Trace is just soaking up that free gold from the barrels. But
all right,
Ambition,
so here's the 3-minute gank. I figured Ambition would do this.
Yeah, here he comes. Tunnels in. Trace, of course, doesn't have the flash available. Still gets knocked up, but the hop is there, so he will jump out to safety. But that's a very revisitable gank.
I really like what Samsung decided to do in this game. They haven't gone for the blue buff yet, so the response is going to be try to give it over to Kuzan so that they can get one of their lanes ahead. But they decided to play potentially with these losing lanes. They had a little bit of cheese there at level 1 to get the flash out the bottom side. Then a quick 3-minute gank into the top lane to make sure they get the flash out of that side. So that's going to limit JinAir's ability to play these lanes very aggressively and deny a lot of CS. So cute little trick right there. But still, Karma actually not going to get the blue buff.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's, okay. Wings, got it.
It's a bit of a surprise.
Definitely not what was intended, so Samsung profit even more. Wings going to come in for a gank onto Crown, though. Pops, the Ghost will get tethered out into the body slam to get a huge chunk of damage. Flashes away, but it might be too late. The flash forward from Wing, the flash from Kuzan, and he will go down for first blood.
Really greedy there from Crown that he didn't flash the tether. Like, he would have lived.
Karma's so fast already.
Yeah.
She has a shield to speed her up. Like, she can basically match her speed for a short period of time. So, yeah, just greedy by Crown. And he's going to pay for it with both of his summoners.
Yeah, at least after you flash that, if you flash upwards, you're still going to have the Ghost to work with afterwards. Obviously, the flash is there on the jungler and Kuzan too, but if you're going to use it, you might as well just use it first, or not at all in that situation. You've got to make one of those decisions, but unfortunately, he is going to lose both summoners and his life. A little bit unnecessarily there, the Crown in the mid lane. But Kuzan at least might be a little bit vulnerable. Wing not going to have that same ganking potential now as Ambition. So we'll see if that is revisited also. So quick first blood does go over to Winged instead of Kuzan.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a minor boon.
He's just taking everything. He's like, I want the blue buff. I want the kill. You just help me out. You're my support now. Look at me.
Look at me.
I'm the carry.
sure that, well, Winged has been the carry in many games with his Thunderlord's Graves. The more surprising jungle builds this season.
Gragas has been another pretty strong pick for him.
Ruler there just baiting out the Q and then quickly spell shielding it. So cute tricks in the laning phase so far. And it will be a Skirmisher's Saber onto Winged. Wow, Winged, okay. That's an interesting choice.
He really wants to be the carry. He's just going to go for that maximum dueling potential, I suppose. But whether or not he's going to bring something like a Sightstone into the build, I kind of doubt it, but maybe to make up for the lack of a Tracker's Knife. It's just interesting overall. Ambition's going to come in for a gank onto Kuzan, but he's got that shield to speed him up, and he will jet his way to safety, so not going to be finding a lot of pressure in mid. Should really go back to that top lane where Trace is still flashless.
Yeah, Cuvée, too, doing actually quite well when it comes to farm. Both
He's already
top
got the
laners have been using have used their teleport. Cuvée a little bit more recently has the Sheen. And still just pieces of a phage right now.
Yeah, it looks like Trace will be going a similar route that we saw from yesterday. Has the components for a phage already in the inventory, and then the cloth armor could very easily be transferred into a Warden's Mail, so he can get that Randuin's.
Yeah, we'll see what his choice is going to be. I'd like to see a little bit more damage out of this build because of the fact that they have the Karma in the mid lane. And so they'll have the big shields to give him a little bit of extra tankiness as it is, and they're going to need a little bit more damage because of the jungle. So a little bit of a roam there from Ruler and Wraith, but not going to find an opportunity. There's a ward right there on the ramp into the river.
So Ambition just kind of hovering around looking for a way in. Flash is getting ready to come back up on that top side, so won't be able to find much ground there. Looks like he's waiting for this blue buff to respawn, but the Wolf Spirit just now gotten by Winged will spot him out. He's going to start this up. That's pretty greedy. He's going to go ahead, back off. Only takes one of the tiny blue Sentinels. He's sticking around. He might go for a Steel Crab. Oh, no, he's getting a Steel Crab. That's what it is.
Yeah. He's backing off right now. Much better vision control in the river already for Samsungs. They may have some opportunities now that we look at TF with level 6 to make some plays. Obviously, a tower dive setup with the Alistar in the bottom lane could be in the cards.
Take it away. Body slam it, quick. Aw.
Wrong direction.
Yeah, I was hoping that just for the sake of being consistent, he was going to wait for Kuzan to walk over and take it, but I don't think that would do so well with your team synergy and communication.
Trace really not harassing much, and flashes back up. You can see how this is being played, though, by Cuvée. What he's doing is he's sticking one GP barrel on himself, and then if Trace walks up within auto range to harass him, he puts another one down and then triggers it immediately. So
yeah.
Clever laning there. It actually is doing a great job of chunking out Trace and zoning him away. So this lane actually going surprisingly well. Like you said yesterday, this lane did not go well for Duke, but Cuvée handling it a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, the Sheen already completed. That's just a ton of damage coming in every time he parlays onto Trace. And having the fast track for the Trinity Force is really going to create an imbalance in that top lane. We can see the recall coming through from Trace. It's actually going to be the Ninja Tabi that he completes with that cloth armor. So we'll be delaying the damage coming in from this inevitable Black Cleaver, as he still doesn't have that phage.
Yeah, Crown going for a pretty fast Aether Wisp here, so getting a little bit of extra move speed in order to dodge some of the Karma abilities, but also maybe going for a Lich Bane in the early stages of this game, which typically we would see on a teleport TF just for split pushing.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot more, with some of the TFs that we've seen a lot more Rod of Ages as a first item coming out, but he's differentiating the build path a little bit with that Aether Wisp. Maybe he's just like, you know what, if I had an Aether Wisp, that tether would not have connected, and this is going to save me from these future ganks.
Well, we'll hope that that is a true statement. We can actually get out of this. So,
well, he didn't get further punished, so he's still in a good spot. Has a slight little lead in the CS, and both of his summoners are back up, so not in the worst of places. Ambition goes in for another invade into this top side of the jungle, and he's not going to find much. Gets shoved out, and the Gromp still goes over to Winged.
Yeah, good vision control still. Wraith and Crown tag teaming in those brushes, but that pink ward is going to die as Kuzan takes revenge with his Trinket Ward. One thing that we're going to have to look at in this game is, oh, there's an arrow.
Yeah, they're going to be going for this play down the mid. Arrows flying through Crown, and he's not going to get hit. It's the Aether Wisp, I'm telling you. Would have got hit if he didn't have that Aether Wisp.
Boots 2 and the Aether Wisp. All right. Is going to zone him out, though, so possible. I'm going to take a look at this Drake, but looks like it's going to be too early to do it.
That's the name of my jazz band. Boots 2 and the Aether Wisp.
It's a good name. Sounds like jazz fusion, something that would be absolutely terrible. Oh, man. So it really has been a war for River Vision this game. A lot of back and forth from the supports, the junglers, and the mid laners. Just everybody really wanting to make sure that they have that information, mostly to prevent Samsung from getting early picks. Obviously, JinAir knows the threat that this Cannon Barrage, TF Ultimate, Sivir, Alistair Dive combo creates, and there's nothing Samsung would like more than to get into the bottom side of the map right now.
Well, they're working their way there. We can see the builds are going to be fairly similar on the side of both of these AD carries. Pilot going very early for that Essence Reaver. Hurricane not yet going to be coming out, probably just the second item pickup. And Ruler as well is going to be building towards that. Opted to go for the Berserker Greaves first.
Yeah, they're not really looking at a heavy siege composition from Samsung, so the lack of early wave, they're not going to be that big of a deal. You don't need to rush the Hurricane, I don't think, in this particular scenario. Always have the Mantra Q from the Karma to clear things out if you need to. And just the lack of early sieging in general. Mostly just about preventing dives right now. That's the goal. But JinAir maybe will last this one out. I mean, just 0 TF ults already at 11.5 minutes into this game.
Ambition is, every time it comes over to this side of the jungle, Winged is just waiting.
He knows. Blue buff going to be up soon. Natural place for a Rek'Sai to be, but Samsung also, that GP getting the passive farm in and actually out-farming in both the top and the bottom lanes. Will be doing them quite a few favors. Just the early flashes seem to have helped out quite a bit.
Yeah, the Themes has been completed here for Kuzan in the mid, and it will be that Lichbane for Crown. Where he wants to go after that, we'll have to wait and see, but now Ambition and Wing both hovering around at this mid side. Neither is going to be able to pull the trigger on a gank. Looks like we just have a pink ward cleared out here by Ambition. Trace goes in for a trade on the Kuve, gets the Gnar ultimate into the wall, into the stun. Will transform back into that mini Gnar, and Kuve has to flash away, so good pressure coming out finally from that Gnar up top.
Yeah, it will be the Ninja Toppy build out of that cloth armor too, so not necessarily going for the Randuin's. Crown actually popped his ultimate right there, just in case he had to help. Didn't end up having to do that, but as they see the jungler in the top, Ambition will get a couple deep wards in around the red buff. Just going to give information right now, nothing else. TP has to be used by Cuve in that top lane, and here's a little skirmish. Kuzan has to get out before he gets unburrowed upon.
Just going to jump right over that wall with a flash, keep himself safe, but Kuve, as you mentioned, teleporting back in, now has the Trinity Force completed, so this is where things could go really south for Trace if Kuve can continue that pressure while that Gnar ultimate is down.
Yeah, with double Sheens in the top and mid lane too, this is going to be a very bursty gank if they can actually execute it. And again, besides that first blood onto Crown, there's just been no action in this game, which is what we expect out of JinAir games. They're definitely the most passive team that we have in the LCK.
Yeah, just hold on tight to that 35-minute mark, and then you put the pressure on if you can, but haven't been able to do much of that lately. Lichbane's completed though for Crown, so this might increase his aggression in this mid side.
Yeah, really interesting that he would go for that item first. A little bit unexpected for me in this game. Just not a lot of ways he can actually put side lane pressure down. We'll see though if he's fading up again. And looks like it was just a fake because he's coming back in. Again, Ruler and Wraith just there in the mid lane every time they push up that wave to see maybe Kuzan will overstep. Pilot is just hanging out by a ward. Playing really passively. I mean, he's afraid to go into lane right now because Kuzan is recalling, and they're handing over the blue buff, and they know that. So obviously if the TF is there right by the blue buff and your mid laner needs to recall, probably not very safe for the Ashe to be alone, has to sacrifice a few CS, but it's going to open up a free Drake here for Samsung, taking advantage of this opportunity.
Well, JinAir is moving around the side. They have an idea that this is happening. Jay's going to try to check with Winter's Bite. They double ward the pit. That'll be some nice little gold into the pocket of Wraith as he clears both of those out. And Ocean Drake does go over to Samsung with relatively no contention. Nice dodge out there by Ruler using On the Hunt. Gets him to safety, and JinAir are not going to be able to find a pick to answer that Dragon take.
Yeah, I don't think that JinAir really wanted to use 2 teleports. Yes, they had the teleport advantage in the top side and maybe could have thought that, but Samsung had already almost completed that Drake anyway. I think best case scenario, you get maybe a kill. Not much more than that.
I thought maybe they go for like a cask steal over the wall or something of that sort, but opted to just hang back and see if anybody was waiting in the brush that they could cut off, but wasn't able to happen. Ruler doing well to dodge out onto that crystalline arrow. Nice triple barrel chain there by Cuvée. Getting that harass in with a little bit of a flare.
There's been a lot of talk recently, Kilios, about how lane swaps are making League of Legends boring. You know what's boring? Standard lanes.
Clearly, well, Cuvé's going to jump away. They finally go for the dive. TP's coming through. Trace will jump away just in time with a flash to get out of range of those barrels. And he will live another day. But that TP burned out by Kuzan cancels it in the mid side, so he'll get that cooldown up fairly quickly. But it's going to be that much less global pressure. And now Trace is going to be able to TP back in. Cuvée just waiting. And he already rips off a good amount of his HP. But Black Lever's been finished, so this could turn things around for the Gnar.
Yeah, not a lot of synergy, unfortunately, with the Gragas in the jungle. And it will be a sight stone, actually. The second item on the jungle. A little bit odd that you would build the Skirmisher Saber into the sight stone, but it's all right. Winged getting a bit of a vision advantage. And yeah, I mean, basically, Samsung has had a huge amount of movement speed, several global abilities and global ultimates, and haven't seen any action here. So, guys, standard lanes and lane swaps can be equally boring. I assure you.
Yep. It's just going to be a nice old slow one. Samsung, the only lead that they've really accrued for themselves coming straight out of CS, so at least making up for that first blood loss that they gave over. But, you know, 10 plus up top. It's pretty even in mid, but bot's about the same, so.
Yeah, also GP bonus gold. That's actually one of the big factors that's putting him ahead right now.
Very good point. And wow, barrels are starting to hurt.
Yeah.
As the serrated dirt comes in for Cuvée, so looking for that Yomu soon. Stun comes out onto him, and Trace is going to whiff the ult. So Wing's like, well,
that was a fun time.
I can't do anything now.
Also, instantly clearing waves now. Cuvée. Oh, he's going to face check a bush.
Hello. Body slam into the barrel. Cuvée take a little bit of damage, but it's all right. It's K. He's got the orange.
Yes, back off. So no Twisted Fate moves yet. And now going for Zonia's. Curious. All right.
Okay.
I accept your build, Crown.
It's an interesting one.
Usually this is a build from a split push Twisted Fate. And he's not in the side lane yet, despite the fact that Ruler does have a completed first item and can easily wave clear if they reassign him into the mid lane. He's not going to be seeing that, apparently.
Huh. Yeah, this Ghost selection is just a little bit
Here we
confusing.
go.
They're going to go for a play up top, though. Trace with no flash gets locked down. The Cannon Barrage is there to slow him up. Barrel's already set. He's going to take a nice chunk of damage, and Crown will come up with the first kill for Samsung.
And Trace just using his ultimate carelessly earlier actually did really catch him right there, even though he was in Mega Gnar, had no way to ult out of that gank. No ult, no flash. Easy kill for Samsung. Crown doesn't even have to use a summoner spell.
Yeah,
that's awfully nice.
Ambition just shows up on the backside, throws a Prey Seeker. It's like, I helped. Give me an assist.
So, JinAir going to put some pressure down onto the bottom side. No turret attempt here, just a Rift Herald to get this GP a little bit more ahead.
Yeah, so they are potentially, yeah, they're going to lose that one. The arrow comes out, finds Wraith. He's going to cleanse that off with the ultimate, though, so he'll be fine. Rift Herald goes down.
I wouldn't have made that trade at all if I'm JinAir. I mean, sure, you take the ult for the ult, but, I mean, okay, maybe you stop a dive from the Alistar, possibly, but you also limit your ability
to open up
a fight or get a pick in the mid lane, anywhere else on the map in the next few, about, what, minute and a half, so.
Well, this is sort of how most of JinAir's games have gone. They've just kind of slowly been hemorrhaging resources and gold over to the enemy. And then every now and then they have a wild attempt at getting back into it. But whether or not that's going to happen, I don't really want to take any bets on that.
It's definitely going to be a little bit tricky.
Tracy will be able to hold on to this. You can see, yeah, it is the Warden's Mail next, so going to be looking for that Randuin's Omen. So just getting the one lane item and then opting to go straight in for the team fights.
I don't know about this. I really think that in this particular context, having, I mean, of course he wants it because he's taking so much damage from Cube right now, but when you're trying to synergize when it comes to team fighting, and you're already going to have a big bonus amount of HP thanks to the shield from Karma, I think maybe the Sterix or the Frozen Mallet might be preferable.
I can see yeah, I think the Frozen Mallet probably be a pretty decent one.
I mean, we've seen Nars do really well with Black Cleaver and Sterix this season. Smed, most notably, has absolutely crushed with that build. Been quite a few different Gnar builds we've seen. It's interesting to me that Riot buffed Gnar, considering we are already seeing quite a bit of him.
It's taken 2 buffs to get him in. But I mean, the same could be said at this point now for Talia, because they have those buffs planned.
Wow, this is
getting ready to come in.
This is why, Achilleos, I really, really believe that as JinAir takes Cloud Drake, which is actually useful for them.
Nope. Well, the arrow's not going to connect. Crown does get out of range, and Che, I don't think that was ever going to connect. Throws out the Glacial Fissure, and he's not going to find it. And Crown will get out with his life yet again, this time holding onto his flash.
Yeah, I really think that you should wait a little bit to further nerf or buff champions after you do it.
Oh, Ambition. Secret Agent Ambition, just waiting in the brush.
Alternatively, in Talia's case, I think you should you know, wait like a month or 6 weeks after a champion comes out. Because especially Talia, anything that has a global utility ultimate like Talia does, it's going to take the professional teams some time playing together to get used to that. And you're not going to see it in professional play because no one's going to take that risk at first. It's not something that's so simple that just one player is able to make the plays with it and that's it. It's that you have to coordinate very well. So buffing Talia so quickly, I don't know about that one either. Because she already seems pretty strong.
I mean, I guess it comes from the Alawi mentality because they buffed Alawi so many times and she still wasn't seen in professional play. They're like, okay, buff her immediately.
Oh, God. No.
Crank that kid up. And now all of a sudden everybody's just like, oh, Talia is the flavor of the month.
But there's a difference, like I said. There's not a global ability.
Yes, that's true.
On Alawi. So, like I said, when you have really high impact utility on a champion, I think that's when you need to wait.
Oh boy, Kuve, he's in a bad spot. The cask actually cut a whiff. Oh, winged.
He may have been trying to predict the flash right there and thinking that Trace would have had the follow-up to actually get that kill, but in any case, whether it was a misplay or lack of communication, didn't actually end up with that kill.
Yeah, that's
all right, so
that stinks.
We are going to have a split-pushing Twisted Fate, by the way.
Yeah.
TF sent to the bottom side of the map. Now, JinAir has some options because they have 2 true globals in the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and the Teleport from the Karma. So making plays onto the GP on the top side is a real option right now for JinAir, and they will not be able to respond, Samsung, with the Twisted Fate ult.
Well, you can see Crown's actually roaming up to this top side, and Kuve's going down.
Yeah, we'll see how he does against the Gnar. Obviously, no magic resist, so that is definitely an attractive lane matchup, but I don't know how much damage the Gnar is going to do in mini form with the Black Cleaver to a Twisted Fate. Probably,
I don't know.
Probably when the matchup happens, it's just going to be just the gold card coming through when he comes up to auto, and that's going to be it.
Yeah. The Hyper did get buffed a little bit, but
that's true.
It's not so significant that an MR-less Gnar can 1v1 the Twisted Fate. That's got some substantial items in right now, as the Rabbidan's Death Cap will be coming out next.
Yeah, 2 Sheens in the side push, too. So if Samsung ever gets opportunities to go after these turrets, will be fruitful, and they've got the amazing wave clear of Ruler. But you know, Pilot's already got the Hurricane, got in time to join Sivir in the mid lane to help clear.
And I like this shift that we've seen. I mean, it's been out here for a while, but for the longest time when Sivir first came back into the meta because of her changes with the Ricochet crits, it was always just Essence Reavers straight into the static shiv. And I like that now we're seeing the Phantom Dancer, because once Phantom Dancer got changed initially, it was like, well, who's going to build this? Like, not many people did. Saw it on like Jungle Graves here and there, but now it's becoming a really good item for Sivir to be able to, duel against people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen so many variations recently because of the buffs to Infinity Edge also. A lot more champions, even Ashe and Sivir, going for the Infinity Edge first these days.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, Arrow's going to get thrown out, but there's no one there.
Maybe thought he could delay a Sivir recall, but unlikely with Spell Shield.
Yeah. So, yeah, whatever.
I mean, he would delay it, but not by very much, considering the stun would be canceled. I don't know. I haven't been a big fan of Pilot's decision-making regarding his ult this game so far. He seems to be wasting it and not looking for the real opportunities, or not coordinating with his team for the real opportunities at the very least.
Yeah. This is a pick that he's been playing a lot lately and still is having some issues. Trace in this bottom side, going to use a Gnar ultimate immediately to knock Crown away. Won't get the stun out. TP gets canceled by Kuzan. And Trace will get out alive, doesn't have to use the flash.
Yeah, but they have two Sheens in the pressure now on the bottom side. You see the Lichbane really chunking that turret out. They do have to send somebody top eventually in order to pick up this minion wave, and I think they're just going to move Ruler up there and then transfer either Ambition or the mid or top laner into that mid lane.
Ambition still gets the big Raptor. Despite everything, Crown still hovering around this bottom side. Che is in a position where he could collapse down onto him, but they haven't seen that he's still in this vicinity, so actually Che gonna go ahead and roam back up to mid and support Pilot.
Yeah, not very consequential, and now Kuzan again. JinAir, here's a time where they can make a play. Now there is absolutely nothing on the side of Samsung to respond to their aggression. Kuzan did burn his teleport, but there's still opportunities here with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow and to make plays on the bottom side of the map.
Which is a good place for them to make plays, because Infernal Drake, next one, spawning, comes up right now. They do have a ward in the pit, so they'll know if Samsung starts going for that objective. Let's see, Crown roaming down through the jungle will be meeting them in the river, so looks like Samsung might want to start this one up pretty soon, or he's going to go meet that wave in the bottom. Keep the split push going, but pretty much all of JinAir now grouped up around this objective.
Yeah, they want to push out the bottom wave before they actually contest this and try and maintain their vision. In the interim, GP trying to walk down. They have to be a bit careful. This Gnar can rip through a tower. If they leave him alone there for too long.
Yep. Juve trying to get some damage in onto him, so if he does TP, he'll be significantly weakened Gnar. You can see so far both these top laners holding on to it. JinAir going to push in, and Samsung actually going to move off away from this Drake. It's still in combat. It's going to be the Destiny coming out from the Twisted Fate TP into the pit. Nice headbutt from Wraith, knocks Trace out. He hops in, and that's actually going to be the Drake confirmed by Winged. Trace gets a stun onto Ambition. The rest of JinAir hovering around the river. Ambition's going to tunnel over, trying to look for a pick. Looks like they might turn onto Wing to flash forward into the gold card. They'll lock him up. One more hit will do it from Ruler. Can he get it? It's going to be Kuve confirming that one with the parlay. Some damage coming up from that barrel into the rest of JinAir. But they're not going to be able to collapse in for a kill, so it's going to be a 1-for-0 for Samsung, but they lose the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, and it looked like, still a little bit of action
Yeah,
going
still,
on.
Ambition going to get engaged on, but now there goes Wraith, gets the headbutt pulverized onto Trace. He's going to get some damage fired back onto him as he pops that Alistar ultimate, and it looks like it's just going to be the tier 1 going down, Samsung going to retreat.
Yeah, so that'll be the first 3 turrets for Samsung, and it puts them out to a pretty nice lead, even though they're only 1 kill up. I mean, the extra gold from both GP and Twisted Fate is actually doing a lot.
Yeah, it's almost 6,000. We'll take another look at this fight, though.
Yeah, and at the start of this thing now, you're going to notice Ambition actually smited right there.
Oh, wow.
Because the Drake reset. So he smited early as the Dragon started to regen that health. So unfortunate for Samsung, couldn't quite secure that objective as a result of the reset. Now they're going to come follow up. Now they blow nearly every flash they have. Wraith fails to flash over the wall right there, so they can't actually get the proper engage down. May have netted them a couple more kills. They still get the mid lane turret, and they still come out with a 5,000 gold lead. So not the end of the world for Samsung. If they have 5,000 gold, they can certainly make up for the stats that they would lose from the Infernal Drake, at least for the moment. Obviously, the closer this game gets to 6-item territory, that doesn't mean anything anymore, and the Infernal Drake has a lot more value. They have to keep working on a win right here, but at least for the moment, it's not the end of the world to lose that. Mortal Reminder now finished for Cuve for some more armor penetration.
Interesting. He's going for that one, and now with that no magic mantle, might be something like a Maul of Malmortius coming out for that Gangplank. A little bit of extra armor penetration. And that shield, Wraith's going to get hit by the arrow. Doesn't have his ultimate or the flash available. Actually, just gets it up and will pop it. He's going to get locked up by the concussive blows. Cannon Barrage comes out, and JinAir just going to peel back right off of that.
All right, well, they got 2 ultimates out for the use of 1 right there. They did get a favorable trade, and they also get, crucially, control over the river around the Baron, which they have to keep an eye on because the top and mid turrets are still up for Samsung, which means that they can push pretty deep into the territory, and it becomes a major, major threat for JinAir to keep vision control over that Baron. It's not a good situation. They need to really get the rest of those tier 1 turrets down, or else they're going to be constantly scared of whether or not Samsung is just trying to pull a fast one on this Baron.
Yeah. Actually,
and they know that ward's there.
Nope, has to drop another pink, so it's just slightly out of vision around the wall. So couldn't get it with the first one. Crown doing the split push thing. Will be able to get out away from Winged in time. There wasn't anybody else really to collapse onto that Twisted Fate with him, so couldn't exactly go for the gank play. Winged's going to have to be looking to get tankier soon. Just has that Dead Man's Plate, the Ruby Sightstone for the moment. Look at that, Samsung are going to go ahead and start up this Baron. They know there's no teleport on Trace, but they will peel back, still just going to play it safe.
I mean, this is going to be the story of JinAir's life right now. This is a perfect situation for Samsung. With their pick composition, at 30 minutes, having those towers down and still having their tier 1s up in mid and top just opens up the map so much for them. There's so far for JinAir to run. They have to constantly be worried about a Twisted Fate ultimate catching them out and getting engaged upon as they try and contest that vision. So it's going to be a hard battle, I think, for JinAir to prevent Samsung from getting this Baron.
I love this from Crown. Every time they try to go clear that pink ward, he just throws the cards over the wall and engages the Baron, and it actually whittled Shay down to about 50% HP.
Oh, yeah. It's very annoying, and this is JinAir's life now. They can't get away from this fact.
Yeah. They have to send in Trace. The third item, Guardian Angel Gnar. Go ahead and clear that one out. So he'll at least have some good mitigation coming in on both sides for the AP and the AD.
And I was curious with the mid lane karma that we've seen in the past couple days on patch 6.13, if we were going to have a hint of the new Forbidden Idol items. Particularly, I mean, we've seen Faker build Ardent Sensor on mid karma before that item was buffed. And now with the additional 15% heals and shields, when you consider the fact that she is going to have a ton of AP too, and the shields are going to be very large, it's not insignificant. Plus, obviously the attack speed and on-hit magic damage that will give the Ashe will be quite attractive. It's just all about the Baron in this game.
Yep, and Samsung are going to go ahead and start this one up.
Yep, here's the pick.
Oh, Destiny play onto the bottom side as they go for Trace, actually.
That was tricky, but
yeah, they got a splash out.
It didn't work.
Oh boy, now they're engaged from JinAir up top while the hunt gets popped, and Samsung looking like they want to maybe turn this one around. Throw out the Cannon Barrage, but they can't find the pick. Meanwhile, Uwe and Crown going to be able to split in that bottom side and get that turret.
Those are some really good mind games from Samsung right there. So they know that JinAir didn't have any wards in their jungle, in their topside jungle, and so was going to be limited in their knowledge of where Crown was on the map. And the natural place in that you assume is that he's getting ready to port on you as you walk into the Baron.
Yeah.
But, because they had vision control over the river. But instead he makes a surprise play onto the bottom side, gets a tier 2, so it's okay. Would have liked to have gotten more, because right there, I think the ideal play would have been if they can kill Trace, kill the tier 2, put pressure onto the inhibitor, then teleport Cuve back to the Baron afterwards to continue the Baron, as JinAir has to send people into the bottom side of the map. I think that was the extended form of that play, but didn't quite get it.
Yeah. I mean, even if they could have just interrupted Trace's teleport had he cast it and then made a play with the Baron with Kube going back up top. That would have been interesting, but JinAir are going to push in. Looks like they will net themselves a second Cloud Drake.
It's actually really good for JinAir. Having 2 Cloud Drakes against the pick composition. Uh-oh.
Well, on the hunt, gets blown up by Ruler. Ambition's going to catch that arrow. Wraith goes in deep, takes a bunch of damage, has to flash out with that Alistar ultimate popped, and JinAir are actually flexing up in some of these skirmishes, coming out on top.
Yeah, the what I like about the double Cloud Drake in this particular game is that JinAir, first off, there's 2 aspects to it. They can more easily get away if the TF decides to port in, so they can just open up some more distance on these picks.
Yeah.
The other reason I like it is that it's so important that they quickly get into the river in this situation, again, considering the tier 1s at 35 minutes are still up in top and mid. So the faster that they can just zip in, get some vision down in the river to make sure that Samsung isn't doing Baron. So double Cloud Drake here, I think, actually has a lot of value for JinAir, but it's a weird set of circumstances for sure. I mean, how often do you see 2 tier 1s still up at 35 minutes?
Not very often. So it's definitely a rough patch and a big part of why they have such a massively stretched deficit. Jay gonna get engaged on, locked up by that gold card. Cannon Barrage comes through, and Ruler will be able to finish out the kill. Now going for Kuzan, who has to flash out, but it might not be enough. Oh my god, the barrel from the GB is blowing it up, and he's gonna go down. Ambition finds the kill. Pilot's firing back though, has this flurry of arrows coming through, but he takes a big chunk of damage. The crits come through from Ruler, and he takes him down. That's a 4-for-1 in favor of Samsung. Let me just say, that's actually an ace for just losing Wraith, and that will also be the Baron. Samsung coming wildly on top of that play.
Pilot, you can't flash in like that. When he comes into the team fight, flashes forward while several members of Samsung are already set up right there, dealing an enormous amount of damage. The GP and the Sivir, there wasn't any way that he was actually going to burst somebody down. And because you're playing Ashe, you're not even going to get a lucky crit right there. There's no chance.
Yeah, Jay, he just wanted to kill the tunnel.
Well, I mean, this is JinAir's reality, right? They're in such a rough situation because of the turrets and the vision.
Burst of damage.
Yeah, that burst of damage, absolutely huge. It was just a crit from Sivir into the barrel. And then right here, just watch Pilot. Ambition, pretty high, and he sees them low, but there's a barrel right on the other side of that wall, so it's immediately chained in. I just don't think on Ashe you're ever going to be able just to one-shot somebody like that. Like, I sort of understand it if you're on a different AD carry and you're going for the Hail Mary, but not that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was also, I think he was trying to clear to the other side of the wall, closer to the blue pit, and he fail-flashed it. So he just ended up sitting in the Wolves. And
well, even if he had gotten over the wall, there still would have been a barrel there, and he still would have gotten wrecked. So
he's forward with his life. So just scrambled play from JinAir there, and now they are going to be in a 15.6 thousand gold deficit. And Samsung have everything that they could possibly want to close out this game. Now with Baron in their inventory, and look at this build from Crown. Just has the Zonias. Now with a Luden's Echo and a Void Staff completed, he can just burst out anybody on the side of JinAir.
Yeah, lots of poke damage. You combine that with the barrels, it's going to be really hard to defend turrets, turns out.
Yeah, and it's already a double Guardian Angel for the side of Samsung, with Kube and Ambition both picking them up respectively.
I think this may be the first time we've seen a 6-item GP recently.
Quite possibly.
You can really see that damage. A lot of the GPs were shut down early or won early, so
yeah.
I don't recall if we've seen a 6-item GP, but this will be a good indication of his damage.
It's also a GP without a Infinity Edge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously that's going to be pretty common now.
Yeah, more and more so. Kube is just going to push in. Trey says, no, get away from that turret. Knocks him out. I think he actually showed, if he knocked him in, he could have gotten the stun onto the tower, but just wants to push him as far away as he possibly can. Kube's still going to be able to force his way up, and he will be whittling away at that inhib. Now Winged coming down, but Crown is here to back him up. Keep him alive, and Samsung is just sweeping through the base. All the inhibitors going to fall. Baron-empowered minions still here. We'll see how long they want to stick around. Looks like they want to go right in. A 4-man pulverize from Wraith. They lock up. Kuzan has to go straight into that Zonia's Pilot on the back line. Gets jumped out. They can't finalize the kill onto him quite yet, but it looks like it might just be inevitable as Ruler pushes forward. Can he get those last autos in? Doesn't matter. The barrel chain coming through from Kube will take him down, and Winged is the only person on JinAir left alive. And Samsung will close out game 1 just under 40 minutes.
Yeah, Samsung here just pulling on through, waiting very patiently in the early game, and then closing decisively late. I love the way that they played around that Baron. I think they had exactly the right read on how to win that game. They eventually got the pick they were looking for, and the sad thing for JinAir is that was almost inevitable because they never were able to get control of that river while those tier 1s were still up in top and mid. So you're going to keep face checking. If Samsung's just patient and waits long enough, they're going to find that pick.
Yeah, and you mentioned the worry about the Karma in the mid lane not having enough damage. Well, Cuvée over doubled the amount of damage that Kuzan was able to do with that pick. So just, you kind of mentioned it. You think that you thought the draft from JinAir was a little bit damning, and it kind of reflected in this game.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Karma unless you're running 80s in both the jungle and the 80 carry position. I just feel that really maximizes it because you're trading off damage from the mid laner for utility to get 280 carries rolling.
Yeah.
Especially when we saw that very tanky build from NAR2. I mean, who is going to do the damage really in the late game? And it certainly wasn't Pilot. So
I mean, do you think that this kind of composition would have worked better if they had maybe winged on Kindred? Because he
Yes.
did recently have a Kindred game, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, Kindred, Graves, these are the champions you really want in the jungle if you're going to have a mid lane Karma. I think that opens it up. When we've seen SK Telecom playing with compositions like these, sometimes we see like the Bang ultra carry on Lucian or Ezreal with this comp, but that's because they have Bang, who's one of the best AD carries in the world and can do that. And they're so good at executing it. Even then, I don't think it's ideal. But we've also seen them play with Blank, either on the Kindred or the Graves, with that style of composition. And that's been the more common style for teams like KT and stuff like that, too. So I'm just more of a fan of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even with the items that he had, he was barely doing more damage than the Gnar, so it was still just a little bit of a misplay there from that Karma.
Well, also, just props to Cuvée. Had a really good game on the GP, did very well in the laning phase. Ambition's 3-minute gank really helped out with the flash, and then was just nailing all those barrels. And now we're starting to see maybe why that was banned away from him in their last series.
Yeah, I mean, he's played this so much recently. I think that JinAir basically have to take this one off the board to try to pick it for themselves, but after seeing Trace's last performance on the Gangplank,
he is good on the GP. He
has been, but the last time we saw it was very...
He also got wrecked by the Aurelia from Smeb the last time he tried to play it. That was a little bit unfortunate too, but I believe in the Trace or the GP from Trace. I do.
All right. Well, we'll see if he's going to bring that one out because they have to take it off the board from Samsung one way or the other, whether it's him playing it for himself or them just banning it. I think that's what's going to happen. But we're going to go to a quick break, guys. When we come back, it'll be Game 2. We'll see if Samsung can close out or if JinAir fires back.